Everybody good? Anybody need more time? Good morning, thanks for coming. So, as how we've been doing this, we'll hold questions to the end, but we're gonna develop a new process for you. We'll try and have multiple today, for example, press conferences today, 10 and 2. They'll be related to particular issues or questions that people have. We'll try and do that. And then we'll keep the questions to those. And then as other issues develop, when we talk about those, we'll relate the questions to that. I will try and continue to be the person to address those, but we'll bring certain folks in that have particular interest or, subject matter expert on particular issues that you all are interested in. So I just wanted to set that stage for you. First, as always, my heart continues to go out for the unaccounted for, and certainly the family of Brandon and Ryan are the foremost in our thoughts and prayers. Having said that, we have two issues for you today, and Chief, if you'd be kind enough to address one of those.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Jeff Bladel. I'm the Chief of Police here in Davenport. And we had an opportunity to speak earlier regarding our role in this initially when we're looking for and trying to find accountable people. So early on, again, in the investigation, the Davenport Police Department's investigative unit met with the Red Cross. We met with a number of organizations, the property owner, the property manager, as well as other sheltering areas that may have had tenants within this building. Through our investigations of those lists and compiling the information, our initial information we provided was that we had 5 individuals that were unaccounted for. In continually going through that list, information was provided, as the mayor pointed out, regarding Brandon Coven and Ryan Hitchcock. Again, information that we shared with you previously was that the information that we have, their apartments, where they lived, that they were potentially in their apartment, but that was in the crash or the collapse piece of that area. Out of the other 3, officers were able to make contact with 2 family members, and those people are okay and safe and out of that building. We still had a 3rd unaccountable that we're working with the VA. His name is Daniel Prian, 122462. His apartment was also related to the area where we had the collapse in the building. Right now, we don't have any family members. We're working on points of contact. For our protocol for these individuals, they are entered in our national database as missing persons, but we'll continue to update you as we get additional information on that. Again, as you guys heard from our fire marshal and structural engineers, where these apartments are key when it comes to this disaster. As I said yesterday, guys, this is something that we've never experienced before as a community. This is something that has impacted our entire community. We had a number of people displaced, but we have families here that are still wanting answers and searching for their loved ones. An outpour from our community to be here and help those families needs to continue, and you guys are doing fantastic. But just remember, our priority is that families. Our priority is hopefully helping them get through this horrific situation that they're experiencing. Other concerns that we had in working with our area shelters and faith-based communities, that this building may have had a number of transient personnel within there. Our community impact team canvassed not only our faith-based areas, we worked with our shelters, we worked with our street outreach people, we went out on the street and interviewed people to see if anybody had any additional information of anybody being in that building. At this point, we're not getting any further information that other people are in this building and missing. So right now, again, we are concentrating on those 3, Brandon, Ryan, and Daniel, and we will be sending out additional information to the media on those individuals shortly after this. Okay, but again, I can't stress enough, the families need us. The families need all of us to remain a level head and try to figure these things out. and hopefully rationalize through what they're grieving and what they're processing through.
Could you spell Daniel's last name, please?
Yes, it is Prien. I'm sorry, Daniel Prien is the name.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Okay, now we'll have Director Oswald come up and discuss permitting. So, Director.
Hello, Rich Oswald, Development Neighborhood Services Director for the City of Davenport. So over the past 36 hours, we have received many questions about a permit issued for the building that was issued on May 25th. The permit originally was issued to start the repair work, and when that permit was issued with a passing mark on it. When that permit was moved from pass to incomplete, we have a system error that on the outward facing program, and I think we're pulling that up, it showed failed. The inspection never failed, it was that it was incomplete. So basically the work was still in progress. They just started the repair work, the work was continued to be in progress. So the error was allowing it to be shown as a failed inspection instead of an incomplete. Now, after looking into this and being completely transparent, we had an inspector go down on the 25th. They made a field inspection for their inspection log, and during a construction thing, inspectors will make numerous inspections. So they'll constantly update things or put their notes into our permitting system. That inspector left for the weekend, and when they returned on May 30th, they went into the system to update their notes from that inspection and noticed that they had in error marked it pass when they created the permit, which made them change it to incomplete. And then when they made it incomplete, the internal glitch showed that it passed. Since then, our IT department has worked to resolve that glitch, and we understand this was an administrative error, but the magnitude of the situation and the error that was made, the employee, the staff member, gave their resignation yesterday, so they are no longer with the city. I want the public to know that the status of incomplete is accurate. The repair work was never completed and never signed off on. So there was no assessment to a pass-fail. It was just incomplete. Thank you.
Okay, we'll wait for the questions. All right. So, as you see, we had two issues. I'll take questions on those particular issues. Just to give you a heads up, this afternoon's conference will be related to assistance. Some of you are aware of the assistance that the state and the governor has signed for individuals. You will be hearing from us on assistance that the city is going to provide as far as monetary and other things. And then I want to also give a shout out to the Red Cross. I've been in contact with the director many times, went to their facility, talked with them there at the facility at both KCI and the Select Hospital. My thanks goes out to them for their work that they're doing, and I want to stress that anybody who is listening, anybody who is viewing that needs assistance or thinks someone needs assistance or has a family member or relative they think needs assistance, however that is, to please contact the Red Cross. They are their conduit for this. And again, all assistance monetarily or otherwise will be working through them. This afternoon, we're going to give a pretty big detailed list of some things we're going to do to add to that. But I want to hold off until this afternoon. So questions relating to what either Chief had or Director had, happy to take. I'll go again. Since last time I went right to left, I'll go left to right this time. So, sir.
The city fined Andrew Wold $300 if he's found guilty, but it looks like city ordinance allowed. That's not true.
We'll be addressing that at a later point.
Yep, we're fully aware of
Okay.
that piece. That will be a separate one.
I can continue. It looks like the city ordinance allowed for them under city code to actually pull the rental
Got anything to that, Mr. Warner?
license.
Yeah, I understand your question.
Hello, Tom Warner, City Attorney. So the action I believe you're referencing, that was filed with the purpose to try to prevent the owner from transferring the property to avoid a large demolition lien. So I would say don't focus on the fine, it's irrelevant, the $300. The purpose of that was to stop it so that when we bring that building down, it's gonna be costly. The last thing we want is that owner to transfer that property and avoid that demolition lien.
Ma'am,
Sorry, excuse me. Have investigators identified any security cameras in the area that may have footage of what actually happened Sunday
And
morning?
we're gonna,
I would say keep the questions to the two topics.
to the two topics, but we're aware of that, you'll see that coming.
Can you walk us as like a school grade student through the process of the permitting, okay?
Sure.
Why was it passed? I understand there was a glitch, but why did it pass in the first place? I know the external facings had failed,
Sure.
and it was supposed to be incomplete, but walk us through that again. Looking at those documents that were released yesterday, the city inspectors found the building was uninhabitable, yet they hired this company to come and assess it. So walk us through that, please.
So I'll focus on the permitting. Your second phase, I'd have to look at what documents you're referring to. But when the employee who has resigned created that inspection tax, they inherently checked past when they created it, right? The work hadn't even started. It was just starting when they created the inspection task. So then when they came back from their time away, they realized, oh, I marked that past. It's an incomplete process. The work was never completed, so it shouldn't have been passed. It should have been failed. It was in progress. So when you start work, you come in, you start work. The permit will be issued. There'll be no pass, failed, or anything on it. Once that first inspection is made, it will go to an incomplete status or an in progress status. If they have to fail it, then they would fail it. If it passes, they would pass it. So based on what we looked into when it was created, it was marked pass at the start.
Based on
Yep.
that work that was being done, should people have been living in that building?
So at the time and the information we had, based on the engineering reports from Select Structural, there was no cause to think they shouldn't be. So that was why that permit was issued for that repair work to be done.
Thank you, sir.
In a report from May 24th from Select Structural, which was 5 days before the building collapsed, it says, in anticipation of these areas falling, the brick facade above the window should be secured. This is to keep the entire face of the building from falling away from bottom areas that come loose. Did that not cause you guys to pause and say that no one should live in this building? And we now know 5 days later the entire wall collapsed.
So that area is, they're still investigating that. If you look at the January report, it was a similar repair that was made back in January. So they're still looking at that, and we'll get those answers.
Believe me, the investigation, we're as interested as anybody else. Sir?
At what point do you bring in your own engineer to look at it and not trust an engineer that's hired by the city itself, or by the building owner itself from Select Structural?
You answer, I have an answer.
Yep. So I will say, sort of like Chief Bladel, this is a new thing for this city. We have great qualified engineers in this area, and this is new, and we'll be looking at that.
What is new?
Okay. Ma'am?
Yes, could you talk about what, if any, did the inspector actually look at the building on that May 24th, 25th? Was there any kind of inspection or person on site before that work began?
I believe the notes from that field visit were released. I'll make sure that they were and get those to you guys.
Sir?
Chief Bladel, could you talk about the two people unaccounted for who were found? Where were they located?
Yes. One was actually had previously moved out a month ago, was found in Texas, and the other one was found locally. So we reached out and found those guys.
Okay. Don't yell out. I'll call on you. So, sir, you have,
Locally in Davenport? and not
Yes,
city?
locally in Davenport, yes.
did you hear that, sir? Locally in Davenport and in Texas. You hadn't, so here, how come, we'll go back.
In your opinion, what needs to change here, and did the permitting process and inspection process, did it fail?
So we have a pretty rigorous inspection process now, and we've upped that numerous times in the last few years. Believe me, we will look at this again. Absolutely, ma'am.
What other or additional disrepair or lack of maintenance would have prompted the city to say, you must vacate the building?
We look at complaints on a complaint by complaint basis. So depending on that, it would be what the severity of those are. So without a specific, I think you can look at the history of the documents that were released on that building and what was called and what was fixed in the past. So.
Sir? And then,
Zachary Smith, IPR News. My question's for you. Back in February, Mid-American had reached out to your department saying that they would not continue to do work around the building based on what were structural issues. They needed the facade reinforced. That was back in February. Why was the building continued to be habitable or considered structurally sound, given that a major utility contractor was not willing to perform, let's just send in their own workers to work alongside it?
So what you're referring to is in February, they had some facade brick issues on the southwest side of that building, directly above the gas meter. They had just upgraded their water boiler system. They needed a larger gas meter installed. Because of the loose bricks, the gas company were following their safety protocols. Their safety protocols said, hey, we want to make sure our people are safe. So that's what stemmed the inspection in February, and that's why those repairs were called for.
To follow up, if their safety procedure said that these workers wouldn't be safe, why would residents?
We referred to the structural engineer report that said there is no fear of anything happening.
thank you. I'm going to go back across. Sir? Do you?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
And then
Is this now a recovery
I'll come to you.
situation, or is this changed to a rescue situation? When did that change? Or is this now a recovery situation over a rescue situation, and when did that change?
Yeah, again, I would have to refer that to the fire marshal, but it is a recovery situation now, yes.
Are those two individuals then presumed to be dead at this point?
So the two individuals, there's a high probability that they are within that collapsed space, and all the information provided to us is that that space is not sustainable for life.
3 individuals, right?
Three individuals, yes, 3 individuals.
Sir?
Mr. Mayor, this question is for you. Ultimately, you represent the city, the buck stops with you, and now it appears that there
Damn
were some
straight.
mistakes that were made along the way. And the city perhaps knew that people should not be living there at this time, and now the building is collapsed and there are 2 people who are possibly dead, it appears. So what is your response to that? People are angry and feel the city could have prevented this in some ways.
I totally understand their anger. I totally understand their concern. I have the same anger and concern. And believe me, we will look at, as you said, as we already said, one person does not work for us anymore. We will continue to investigate where this is. And as we've already done, we're continuing to turn over everything we know to y'all. We will turn over everything we know to whenever there's a decision for who's investigating, which will be outside of us. And we want to know what happened and to move forward and make the right decisions. And believe me, we will do that. Sir.
Mayor, this is either for you or Rich, whichever is better to answer this. There are a lot of the documents you sent last night, there are official notices to vacate specific units that were deemed uninhabitable. There are, however, 2 documents from February 10th and May 5th that are just official notices to vacate, and all that is listed is the address of the building, no unit number. And then on that report, it says, this is the final notice to vacate this building by said date. Are these errors in terms of you didn't list the unit? Because in every single other one, there is a unit listed. Or are these official letters to vacate the entire building?
Take it.
Yeah, so I would have to look at those 2 specific documents to give you a correct answer. But in a rental inspection program, if it's a complaint inspection, the landlord has so long to make the repairs, or we will vacate the unit. It could be for heat, it could be an electrical issue, it could be for numerous issues. So it depends. I'll look at those 2 documents and then get you an
Get
answer.
an answer back. Okay. Yes, ma'am. You've been waiting.
Hey, Adrienne Broadus from CNN. 2 quick questions. One, at any point on Saturday, did a city employee call 911 saying this building needs to be evacuated?
Not that I'm aware of, ma'am. We'll look into that. That's a question we haven't had.
And what about other buildings in the area that are the same age?
What about that?
What steps will your department or your city take? to
We've
make
already
sure
talked about
I
sending.
apologize, I came in late, I was on.
No problem. We've already talked about and are starting the process to send inspectors and other people to other buildings. We have a rental and building inspection program, and you can talk more and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Audra. Some are listed as yearly, on a yearly cycle, 2-year cycle, 5-year cycle, 2 and 3.
So it depending on the size of the building, but anything above a 12-plex is every 2 years will be inspected
Okay.
from a rental.
And we've upped that recently. And so we will look at that again. The council is always interested in this issue. And so, believe me, we will look at this again. And we are totally aware of other buildings, and we always are aware of buildings, and when they should be on the cycle, when they should be inspected. Obviously, because of this tragedy, we are very astute to sending inspectors outside of the cycle they're on right now to particular buildings. Understand, you can see there's a lot of old buildings, but we're discussing which ones we should send right back to. Obviously, we know the concerns of some. Ms. Watson.
Yeah, do you know how many units collapsed and what numbers those are?
Not right now.
I don't know the exact number, but we can.
We'll get that.
We'll get that. Jen.
2 questions. First on the third missing person, Daniel. I know when we spoke, or when you had the press conference on Tuesday, there was a mention of discrepancies in tenant lists. So do you have firm evidence that he was still living in this building?
So, again, for Mr. Prian, he was not a part of the initial rental from the management team. He was a shelter placement, so we're working with the shelter to find that evidence. It wasn't uncommon for him not to check in, and again, we are having a challenge getting actual family members of him located. So, you know, it's a little bit of a challenge, but we understand that that is where his apartment is. Right now, you know, we have to go with the information that we have. As far as that being, you know, as far as the totality of evidence that we're seeing related to the other two, for Brandon and Ryan, there seems to be a lot more behind that than what we see.
Photos of the 3?
Yes, we will.
Okay, and then my second question is, I've been on
So
scene.
I'm going to go across once and then come back, and then we're good.
All right,
So.
I've been on scene all morning. This morning early on, there was sounds of debris still falling. Is this building still shifting, and how dangerous is it at this time?
That's a correct statement. It's dangerous and it's shifting. Ma'am. Or I'll go sir, then ma'am, then back. Yep. Ding, ding, ding. Sir.
All right, first, can you give us just the latest on the status of the demolition? Secondly, in previous.
Let me
press
go one at a
conference-
time. Hold your second
Okay,
one so
sorry,
I
yeah.
keep my head focused, right?
Makes sense.
A lot of
Status
things.
demo.
We are working on a timeline. We are reaching out to experts that have particular expertise in taking it down with a very dignified and respectful way. That is very particular because my guidance and quite frankly, the understanding of all our folks is this needs to be done in a way that it respects that this is a resting place and that we have to take this down in a way when we do that, and we're not anywhere near doing that right now, just so you know that. But what we are going to work to do this, but we want to find particular folks, and I'll just say we are reaching out to a lot of experts. I think the state EOC emergency folks are on site today. We're talking with other people around the country. There isn't a lot, but there's a few, and you can probably understand which they are, that have very much expertise in this. I'm talking with some today. Our folks are talking with others to see how to do this in the focus is a dignified and respectful way.
Before I get to that.
You have your second question,
Yeah,
and then
just
I'll go back over here.
Just to clarify, because there are people outside
Yes,
who are
sir.
saying we don't want this to be demolished. It sounds to me like we are potentially weeks or longer away
So
from
I
that
won't
being
give
demolished.
you
What's the
any
timeline?
specific time because then you'll say, Mike, you said tomorrow or today or whatever, and we're not. Believe me, that we understand the significance of this tragedy and the significance and the terrible sadness that the families are going through for their unaccounted relatives. Understanding that there's a possibility, as you heard the chief say, strong possibility, that this is a resting place. There is no other focus for us, and my guidance and everybody else's focus has been the same and will continue to be the same. when we do this, this has to be done in that manner. That's the focus. So I can't give you a time like tomorrow or next week because we have to discuss much more with many more folks and experts on how to do that way. This is an unusual thing, and we want to focus on the dignity and respectful way to do that. Ma'am.
How many apartment units were required to be vacated before this happened? And what were the reasons or the discrepancies in repair and maintenance that required those units to be vacated?
Do you know? I don't know.
So, for this particular repair, no units were required to be vacated. Everything else has been released. If you go through those documents, it would say specifically the apartment number and what the issue was if it was required to be vacated.
Then you don't know off the top of your head what the issues were that required them to be vacated?
Off the top of my head, no, it was an 80-unit building, so I think that information has been released.
Thank you.
Sir, and then this way.
Sorry to keep making.
No,
you
you're fine.
Why don't you stand next to me?
Talking about the documents dropped late last night. You were quoted in one of the inspector's logs for back in 2020 saying that, in referring to this building, saying I'm not afraid of closing the building down. Go ahead and proceed. Saying they had brought to you concerns of really severe violations of city code. I think a lot of the questions that have been aimed today seem, based on these documents, it seems like there's been a lot of points where there could have been a red flag should the city have looked at it in those terms. I wanted you to help explain kind of like why none of these lived up to a point where it would have caused this city to shut down this building to prevent people from habitating in that building. Does that make sense?
Yep. So I'm gonna try to answer this. Sometimes we have to use everything we can to make sure that owners of apartment buildings are doing what they're supposed to be doing. And one of those is if you don't fix your apartment and keep it safe, it'll be vacated. And that's the worst thing that can happen for a landlord.
And we have told other landlords that too. Okay, sir, and we're going this way one more time.
Have you ever forced?
We're going this way, ma'am. We're going this way one more time.
You were talking earlier about the timeline for certain buildings being inspected. Did this particular building fall?
Oh, like in the schedule?
Yes. How often was this building actually inspected?
So on the annual cycle, I'd have to look at that. But I've said before, the tenants had complaints on this building. We had different inspections for different things. So I think that's all been released in the documents, and you can find that.
Okay. Sir?
So I appreciate the press conference and you explaining everything that's going on right now with this process. My question is, why is the fire marshal, fire commander not here explaining how the rescue or the search is going to?
Because they're actually on site doing that.
Are they actually doing that? I've seen them put fences down, but we haven't actually seen anybody actually.
So, was it 2 days ago, the state folks came back? So 2 days ago, we had the state emergency rescue lead come back.
It's Thursday.
I understand. We've had numerous, listen, I'm going to say this as straight as I can. Once I catch my breath here. We have had teams of multiple jurisdictions, from our folks to state folks to the state search and rescue to the MABUS folks, in that building numerous times. We have had infrared canines in that building numerous times. I can't explain to you enough, and I'm sure it won't be enough, but the amount of caring by our first responders to get in that building and try and save lives and find folks, I don't know if it's unheralded, but at least what I have witnessed personally, standing there for, as some of you know, saw us, 24 hours straight, watching the teams come in and out of that building, drenched, overwhelmed with heat. Think about teams, rescue folks, holding up, securing an inside, unstructured, unsafe place to get a person out when doctors are doing trauma inside that building. When some of the search and rescue folks are inside some of the stuff that is coming down in small spaces, breaking down doors to find people in rooms, I can't stress enough how much multiple times that has happened. And we will continue to evaluate and use tools and technology. And the amount of technology that's already been done, much less that will probably yet to come by engineering folks. If you saw the multiple people yesterday with the drones and with the infrared stuff going on, I can't express the amount of work that's being done that we're still moving forward to find experts to do more of that to continue. Sir, I apologize. I said, sir, then I'll come back. I pointed at you, so I'll go back.
In your February 6th report, it says that there's visible crumbling of the exterior load-bearing wall under the support beam. And that the only way that this was going to be deemed not an imminent danger that needs to be evacuated is if the engineer came out and stated and made a report that said that this building is able to be lived in. He came out and report that same day, says it's not an imminent danger. Now, 3 months later, the building has collapsed. You were toting such a fine line between closing the building and keeping the building open, and based off one engineer's report, you decided to keep the building open, and now most likely 3 people have died because of that.
Yep, and I understand that. I mean, a professional engineer in February stated the building was not at imminent collapse. The same engineer reviewed the repair work that needed to be done in May and did not come to the conclusion that that building had to be evacuated.
Thank you. Okay, sir, you waited.
Quite simply, Mr. Mayor, knowing what we know now, could the city have prevented this?
I can't answer that question
Why?
because I don't know that. I don't know that anybody can anticipate a building collapsing. All I can tell you is that through improved inspections and a continuous inspection cycle, we will continue to look at things to do. I can only and we will look at going forward. I can only tell you that. And we review these things often, and we will continue to do that. And believe me, after this tragedy, this will build, sir.
One thing I don't understand about the structural engineering company's report is that the city allowed a structural engineering firm hired by the owner of the building to write up its report. Why was that? Why wouldn't the city have, if the city required an independent look at the structural integrity of the building, why not hire an independent firm?
Sure. So, I guess the best answer I have, a professional engineer is certified, right? They put their stamp on that. That's their professional career to make those decisions. So, an engineer's report stamped by that engineer is a qualified report. They have state licensing. That's their job.
Doesn't raise questions that that engineer was being paid for by the owner of the building.
Not if they're qualified and certified and qualified by the state. Sir, or ma'am, I'm sorry.
Good. 2 quick questions here. One, some of it's Brandon's family, they're raising questions about an X that looks like a cross.
I'm sorry, I'm not.
There's an X on one of the windows of the structure.
Okay.
Brandon's family says it looks like a cross. Did your crews mark that window when they went in to search?
I don't know.
Wasn't there the first day?
I don't know, but we'll look into that.
Second question, looking back to Monday, when you addressed members of the media, I remember saying in the live report, wow, they're so thrilled people escaped with their lives.
Some did.
Some did, yes. Do you have any regrets today on Thursday
Concerning.
how you addressed the media Monday and the actions leading up to
So
Sunday?
we address things in real time. Do I have regrets about this tragedy and about people potentially losing their lives? Hell yeah. Do I think about this every moment? Hell yeah. I apologize for me getting a little wordy here. Any tragedy of any sort, particular to this city that I'm in charge of, and believe me, this is on me. And there are people that are talking about other people. It's me. You talk to me. And some are. And I'll take that. And I'm going to stand here and continue to take that. I have regrets about a lot of things. Believe me, we're going to look at that. But I'm also going to stand here and continue to do this. And I'm going to stand here and continue to try and answer your questions. And we are not perfect. And yes, maybe we gave you an answer a couple days ago based on the information we have. And I gave you that answer. And then in real time things changed. And new information came. And new searches happened. And new investigations went on. And that'll continue to happen. I might say something today, and through a new investigation, something else comes up. And you're going to ask me that question, and I'm going to say yes. I gave you the information that I had at the time. And I'm going to continue to do that. I don't know else how to do that. But I'll stand in front of you and take it, and take the criticism, and take the questions, because in no way should anybody that's going in that building to rescue people take any of that. Or somebody who tried to inspect, and we can parse out all that. Here I am. Give it to me. Appreciate that. Ma'am, and then sir, and then that's it.
Can you give us
I'll go 1, 2, 3. You three right there.
Can you give us a little bit of a synopsis of what the recovery effort has been like the last day or so? We've seen a lot of action, activity at the scene of trucks. You mentioned dogs. You mentioned knocking down doors. We've seen giant drones. What is actually going on?
So you've encompassed it pretty well over the last few days.
In the last day or so.
So today the emergency folks are on site from the state with our fire folks. That's happening today. We're investigating and researching other people. Is there something we're missing? Is there some technique we haven't used? Is there some piece of equipment we need to get? I mean, infrared has been all over that place. Dogs. Experts at different levels and fields that do this, in serious earthquake situation. We'll continue to look for them and find them. Ma'am.
Two questions. You mentioned that you're having to tear down this building with dignity, right?
That's our intent.
You mentioned that this could be the final resting place for some people. When you say that, does that mean that after the building is torn down, there will not be an effort to go recover the remains?
Oh my goodness, no. Oh my goodness, no. The full effort, and I'll say this, and I don't know if this is the right word to use, and I'll apologize in advance if anybody wants to critique me on this. I equate that this will be like a dignified archaeological, this is my view, archaeological type of thing where you're going to pull pieces and sift through with the respect and dignity to try and find, if they're there, the remains of folks' loved ones. That's the level that we intend to do because of what we believe we're dealing with. Sir.
Sorry, I have another one. I appreciate that response because I'm sure family members watching would be concerned over that. My second question is, you mentioned the effort knocking down doors in the search, and this might be more for Chief Bladel here. Are you aware that there is a video on TikTok of one of your officers telling protesters that Lisa Brooks snuck back into the building?
No, I'm not aware, but I will look into that. Yeah, we don't have that information, right?
Yeah.
We don't have that information. She was rescued out of the 4th floor by our fire personnel, and that's what we know.
So we know, as you heard me say before, I'm glad she's safe and alive. Right? Sir, and then ma'am, and then we're done.
To the first one, you likely won't be able to answer now, but can you give
I'll
us
try.
an update on how Lisa was missed in the first search? You said that was something you were going to be looking into.
Yeah, and that, absolutely. I said before, and I'm still as interested as anybody else. But no one should question the effort to find everyone. How that was missed, I still cannot explain that. but believe me, we're going to continue to look into that. Ma'am.
And then, no, this was,
Follow up, then ma'am.
yeah, sorry.
Can you give us any?
Follow up, then ma'am.
Can you give us?
Okay, however you two want to negotiate that.
The second question, I mean, I'm new to looking at the documents that were released. I haven't looked at that many inspection reports, but in my read of it, when I saw some of the pictures, just looking at the complaints, reading the documents there was a lot that gave me pause. What gave you pause looking at those?
You've heard me say it. I have pause and regrets, and we're going to look at this. And believe me, yes, it is a line of when you tell people you have to be kicked out of your home. We've dealt with that before. It is a line to say it's so unsafe. You have to be kicked out of your home, because that's what we're doing if we do that. Is it so unsafe? That might be true, and I understand the interest in that. I can only tell you that. And believe me, we're going to look at that again. Over and over. And for the rest of my life, I'm going to probably look at that again. Ma'am.
I apologize for interrupting the last time, but my question back then was going to be, has the city ever told a landlord, maybe in recent years, you have to vacate the building?
Absolutely.
And what were the reasons for those vacations?
Numerous reasons. I mean,
Were there, first of all, buildings that were forced to be vacated?
yes, ma'am.
Do you know how many? Do you know how old the building
Off the top of my
is?
head, I don't know,
All right.
but there has
And
been. Yes, ma'am.
What reasons?
Various reasons. When inspections are done, it depends what was called, right? Sometimes it's just they don't maintain the building, they don't make the repair, so the building's vacated, or the repair is it's uninhabitable from just yeah. So we have. I'm sorry.
All right, thank you all for coming. We'll have at 2 another subject of assistance. We'll continue to develop these questions you have. We'll continue to look into answers. There's a couple here we need to get back to you on, and we'll just keep doing this. There's no time frame to end it, but we'll just keep doing it. Thank you. What? 2 p.m. today, we'll have another one on a particular interest of assistance that the city's providing, and a culmination of some of that up to this point, which doesn't mean it's the end. We'll just update you, right? And then we'll update new things, and then I'll stay in here and we'll take more questions. We'll continue to do this. I have no time frame to say we're going to end press conferences. All right? Thank you.
Fire marshal be at the 2 p.m.?
I don't know that because he's involved with the state emergency people. So, thank you. I don't know what you're doing.
That's city code.